Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. It's my first video ever. My name is Parth, and I'm a PhD student at UMass Global. I just started out last year in 2025. Um, I think I wanted to start a YouTube channel to mostly like improve my presentation skills, my communication skills, and develop that natural flow of thought, so I can become better. Uh, I can present my ideas better. Like a quick background about what this YouTube channel is going to be. I honestly do not have any script on me right now. What I'm planning to do is this YouTube channel will be a medium for me to express not just my research skills, which I will be doing through paper presentations, through my work presentations and other stuff, but also expressing different hobbies that I have, or maybe different adventures I might go on. So this could be traveling, this could be music, because I am into music as well. So if I am learning, let's say, classical music, I will be posting videos about different stuff. So this is more like a personal video journal. Um, I'll see if I want to sort of make it public. It's not public yet, but eventually it's going to start off with my own thing. Like it'll be for my own it'll be for me, but eventually if I feel like posting, I will post. So there's no script, there's nothing. It's I'm just riffing on top of my head at this point. Wish me luck. I'm gonna present my screen. The I think the topic for today's video would be me giving a presentation about this paper. This is called Responsible Evaluation of AI for Mental Health. Um, Firstly, why this paper per se? Now, this paper was sent to me by a PhD mentor of mine who was a senior PhD student, now turned an assistant professor. Um, and I am working in AI for mental health. So, I think this makes more sense. There's no symbolic anything in this video. It's just me reading a paper and just trying something new for the first time. So yeah, wish me luck. Let me know if you want to let me know what you think in the comments if I post this. Okay, so responsible evaluation of AI for mental health. A lot of authors, Heber, Arnaut, Anmol Goel, Andrew Schwartz, from Ramstead University, Vanderbilt. Okay. Georgia Tech, Leiden University, University of Washington, TCD also. Pretty good. So that's I think it's quite a decent work. Alan Turing Institute is also there. Okay. This I read a lot of paper from this university. I'm not sure which university is this. I'm a beginner researcher, so forgive me. But yeah, let's just go ahead and I'll also open this in the tab that eventually that we will be looking for. Oh, it was presented in ACL. Interesting. Okay, so although AI shows growing promise for mental health care, current approaches to evaluating it in this domain remain fragmented and poorly aligned with clinical practice, social context, and first-hand user experience, which makes sense actually, because evaluation is not directly applicable in the real world setting, which is the clinical practice that has been highlighted here. It's very subjective, it's dynamic. There needs to be context. So, a lot of context, which even the therapists are not really are aware about. So, that context is evolving. It's in a formulation of a time series data. One can imagine that if we are trying to model a mental state of a person, then that mental state could be as a time series, like a evolution across different dimensions, where one dimension is time. So that is like an interesting way to think about this. Now, this paper argues for rethinking of responsible evaluation. So how do we evaluate? So this is like, I think that's what they're calling for over here. Um, Also, let me see if I can turn it into light mode and not the dark mode. Is there a way to do that? Okay. Archive, settings. Nope, not here. Huh, over here. Yep, let's go. Yeah, we're in. You're all set. Okay, so we need to rethink evaluation. What is being measured, by whom it is being measured. This is very important because a lot of the times in our research pipelines, we are using LLM as a judge. So might want to think about this aspect as well. And for what purpose? By introducing an interdisciplinary framework that integrates clinical soundness, social context, and equity, providing a structured basis for evaluation. Like these are certain things that need to be taken care of. Now, through through analysis of 135 recent ACL publication, not ACL, but any CL publications, we identify recurring limitations, including over-reliance on generic metrics that do not capture clinical validity, therapeutic appropriateness, or user experience, limited participation from mental health professionals, and insufficient attention to safety and equity. To address these gaps, we propose a taxonomy of AI mental health support types assessment, intervention. Okay, so like one thing is that in this paper they're trying to review a lot of techniques and they point out certain problems that sometimes the experts are not available, sometimes the metrics are very generic, they're not generalizable to specific contexts. And to address these gaps, they are proposing a taxonomy of AI mental health support types, which is assessment, intervention, and information synthesis oriented. So, like, these are certain terms which even I'm not certain about as to what these are, but um, we are focusing on support types for mental health. So that's one. Um, and that would include assessment, intervention. So assessment would be diagnosis, and that's what my understanding is. Intervention is how mental health support is administered, and information synthesis oriented. So that is basically information synthesis oriented. So how mental health support is being administered using the information or the data that is being synthesized, maybe in a static way or in a real-time setting, and how that is, and like is the evaluation or the support for mental health, is it based on the information that is being delivered? So this is a bit dodgy, to be honest, and we can ask um, the agent over here as to what they mean. But what I try to do is to make a guess in my mind, read the paper, refine that guess, then confirm. So that's what I'm going to do in this video, and hopefully it works out well. Okay, so large language models, considerable promise for mental health, very generic stuff. Self-guided support, where user interacts with LLM and where users interact with LLMs directly for guidance or coping strategies. There are certain papers that focus on this. I think this one is a new paper. Let's see. Uh, okay, yeah, not gonna read all that. Um, if we go next, from detecting early signs of depression in language to clinical documentation and summarizing complex patient histories and generating therapeutic or supportive responses in online communities. Interesting. AI-enabled mental health tools have potential to augment professional care and extend psychological support beyond traditional clinical encounters. This potential is especially valuable due to limited availability of mental health resources, growing global demand, and persistent inequities in access to care. Now, despite their promise, AI for mental health tools are fundamentally lacking in evaluation. Now, this is an important thing that which serves as a um, um, like the main point of this paper, which is they focus on evaluation, which is like not that great. Existing evaluation practices are inconsistent, um, and often insufficient. Now, this is concerning because poor evaluation, particularly in this domain, can lead to misleading conclusions, unintended harm, and inequitable outcomes. This is quite interesting, like my current work, which is building a chatbot for insomnia support, also deals with a lot of this stuff. And I'm generating synthetic data using an agentic framework under the React um, pipeline where the multi-agent systems sort of generate the synthetic data. There are different evaluators across different components. Maybe one component could be the appropriateness or the relevance of a particular treatment or a particular message that the LLM has delivered against a patient, and is it relevant or not? And all of this is under the lens of a LLM as a judge. So a lot of it is dynamic in nature, and this particular paper is quite useful for me because I am training a model, but that model and creating the synthetic data is only applicable if the judge is good. Now, ideally, we would want multiple human experts to rate the responses, and then maybe if we have like an online reinforcement learning kind of a setup, that'll be the best way to train such a system. But since we do not have that, we can r- try to go for an LM as a judge, and that is where things become like quite hazy. So now, poor evaluation in this domain can lead to misleading conclusions. I think this is quite interpretable and understandable. And our review of prior AI for mental health work reveals recurring issues, including over-reliance on generic metrics that fail to capture clinical validity, therapeutic appropriateness, or user experience, minimal participation from mental health professionals, and insufficient attention to safety, equity, and long-term impact. Now, we do not expect papers in venues like ACL to be fully deployable in clinical settings. Careful evaluation is essential to responsibly translate research insights towards real-world mental health impact. Now, accordingly, like the goal is to raise evaluation standards so that research outputs can earn the trust of domain experts. Now, this is a very hard problem. Now, this right here is a very hard problem. But for us researchers in AI for mental health, great paper, very useful. Now, even when the tools are not yet or are not intended to be used in clinical practice, but like if we are doing research, we need a good evaluation scheme because that can, like, once we have a good evaluator, then that QA and that evaluator system can help us improve our systems better. Now, these shortcomings in evaluation practices are not idiosyncratic model bugs, but symptoms of an underlying disconnect between the communities that build, use, and regulate AI for mental health tools. Because people who use, the practitioners, the users, and we, the builders, there might be a disconnect between us. So I think that's what they're trying to argue over here, that we need a better overall sort of a understanding and synergy between the builders and the evaluators. And also that synergy should be should be adaptable because the user base is continuously adaptable and the model needs to adapt. Otherwise, there is drift that can happen. So the drift can happen not in terms of just the model's output, but also in terms of the evaluation that we need to figure because the latter demographic is changing. So that is like one very important thing some people might want to think about. Now, these shortcomings in evaluation practices are not current evaluations often devolve to technical benchmark wins, while clinicians and other users judge success by changes in symptoms, patient functioning, safety over time. Social and implementation scientists in turn ask whether whether a tool fits workflows, earns trust, and reaches people equitably. Now, like these are important metrics in real world that are important, like that are useful. Now, without shared evaluative language, results travel poorly across these communities. And automated scores without clinical anchors may overstate progress, and human studies may lack meaningful involvement as well as methodical transparency or expert input. And cross-disciplinary collaboration may arrive late, if at all it arrives. Now what is needed is a common clinically grounded evaluation framework that makes psychometric constructs accessible to AI researchers. Now these are important, and I'll talk about the psychometric constructs later. But what is needed is um, what is needed is a common clinically grounded evaluation frameworks that make psychometric constructs accessible to AI researchers. Now, psychometrics is the branch of psychology which is more qualitative, more quantitative in nature, where we are trying to measure or answer certain questions, and it sort of overlays with theory of mind as well. So psychometrics, and I think I would not be able to do a better job than Google, is a scientific field concerned with measuring abstract human traits like intelligence, personalities, and abilities. Now, it's sort of understanding the mental processes in an objective, quantifiable way. So, if a person is exhibiting a trait, maybe they're angry, the kind of emotion they are feeling. Now we have different mental models for that as well to capture the running emotional state of a person. But psychometrics is a and in its entire branch is basically assessing all these, as you can see over here, is concerned with construction of assessment tools, measurement instruments, and formalized models. So if we have a certain mental health related conversation, or maybe like a different modality altogether, if not text, is there a way to quantify it? And psychometrics um, provides like a formal, not taxonomy, but like a formal direction in which we would want to evaluate all of these concepts. So that is one thing. um, Now let's go back to the paper and see like what we are doing, and pairs them with human-centered and implementation science. And implementation science measures treat safety, equity, real world until its primary outcomes. This framework can then be a connective tissue that enables mutual intelligibility and ultimately responsible deployment across research contexts, clinics, and community platforms. Same, blah, blah, blah. Like we need a proper framework to marry the real world and what the community is actually building, and how it's evaluating. So consequently, we posit a fundamental reconsideration of evaluation of AI for AI mental health tools according to clinical goals, typically falling into three broad types. The first one is the assessment, the second one is the intervention, and the third one is the information synthesis. Now, what is assessment? It is inferring psychological states, which is language-based screening, as to what we discussed initially. The second one is the intervention, is how do we deliver or scaffold the support. Information synthesis is to aid practitioners or researchers, example, clinical summarization. Sample tasks for each type are shown in Table 1, and we can go to Table 1 directly and see information synthesis as therapy session summarization. Oh, so it's basically like once we deliver, which is the intervention, how do we consolidate the information in a very structured and in a consistent way, which directly applies or aligns with what the intervention really was, or what the assessment and intervention really was. So, like, that is like one of the things that we need to definitely be cognizant of and take care of. Now, sample tasks of each type, now we discussed over there. Now, this categorization clarifies how different types of tools require context sensitive evaluation and enables the field to calibrate what claims are supported by existing evaluations. So like this categorization is sort of important because it is context sensitive evaluation. Now, this is the most important problem um, that we need to solve for. And Yeah, I do not have. I've been working on it for 6 months. No idea. Even 1 year now, because prior to that I was doing some literature reviews, so it's also work. Now, contributions. We identify key gaps and challenges in the current evaluation practices for AI in mental health. That's one. We see Appendix A for details of survey. Now, we propose a structured taxonomy of tool types and salient evaluation dimensions, highlighting differences between general generative AI evaluation and mental health concerns. Okay, so they provide a structured taxonomy of salient evaluation, or like what are the different dimensions that we need to take care of. So they define those dimensions, which might align with the real world clinical setting. And they also highlight the differences between the general generative AI evaluation and mental health specific concerns. A lot of the times, if we use LLM as a judge, it might be not judging it might not judge the actual like what is asked, but judge the text quality itself. So um, let's say in a very simple example, if I ask an LLM what is 2 plus 2, and like one answer is 4, and another answer is like a proper chain of thought and a proper rigorous mathematical proof um, of 2 plus 2 is equals to 4. An LLM being more verbose might um, say that if we just ask it like an MCQ based, like which are correct, it might say, okay, option A and option A is correct. But if we look at the internal scores, maybe through, let's say, the embedding, or like, let's say, the entropy, or let's say if we put a classifier head between like which of the two are correct, there could be a chance. I'm not saying it will be. There could be that for some models, the longer verbose option will be more preferred. And that is what the exact difference is between an LLM as an evaluator and a human as evaluator. Because even if there is a bias, like we can choose. An LLM can also do the same thing, but intrinsically, an LLM might be inclined to choose more verbose evaluation. So um, that is this part, which highlighting the differences between general generative AI evaluation and mental health specific concerns. And this could be one of the case. Now we demonstrate its utility through five illustrative case studies spanning assessment, intervention, and support tools in diverse settings. So they basically support their claim of the various dimensions we need to evaluate on through five illustrative case studies that they're basically saying, oh, we need to show you that this dimension is important. See in this case study, as simple as that. Um, Now we synthesize these insights into recommendations and guiding principles for responsible and comprehensive evaluation moving forward. So that was one. Uh, Positionality, our call for rethinking evaluation. Um, okay, one thing I skipped. We synthesize these insights into recommendations and guiding principles for responsible, comprehensive evaluation moving forward. Makes sense. That should be the contribution and the conclusion of the paper. Positionality. Our call for rethinking evaluation aligns with broader reflections on the generative AI evaluation crisis in the CL community. Yeah, makes sense. Sure, we can say that. And as well as work framing generative AI evaluation as a social science measurement challenge, emphasizing rigor in construct definition and validity, and proposing frameworks that connect abstract evaluation goals to concrete measurement practices. Makes sense. Like we want to build like a proper taxonomy and general principles of evaluating. Now, while these papers focus on general purpose generative AI, we target clinical, ethical, and implementation challenges in mental health. This would be like a very important component going forward, because I have personally encountered a lot of the problems um, like when going through this. Now, recent surveys on LLMs. Okay, what is this? Okay, perfect. Now, recent surveys on LLMs and psychotherapy. Uh, recent surveys on LMs in psychotherapy, cognitive distortion detection, and mental health conversational agents primarily catalog tasks, datasets, and model capabilities rather than providing normative guidance for responsible evaluation. Now, unlike Wang and all, who review papers from 2023 to 2024 across medical engineering databases to assess LMs clinician-like capabilities, our work surveys recent NLP research to propose a normative interdisciplinary evaluation framework grounded in psychometrics and clinical science. Zhang and all focus on evaluating the effectiveness of generative AI chatbots through systematic review and meta-analysis, while our framework covers a broader range of AI applications in mental health, including assessments, interventions, and information synthesis. Flathers and all propose a clinician-focused tripartite benchmarking approach, emphasizing technical safety, clinical knowledge, and reasoning, whereas our system systematically analyzes NLP research and develops a theory-grounded framework integrating psychometrics, clinical science implementation, equity, and user experience to guide research evaluation rather than immediate clinical benchmarking. Oh, very interesting. So this paper is something that is important, and what they are saying is, okay, so this paper, Flowers and all, I think I would advise people who are on this channel to be cognizant of this particular paper. Um, Sounds interesting, and that paper does provide some sort of evidence or some framework to evaluate. I have not read this, but I would be looking forward to reading that. And that seems interesting. Just some water break. Okay, so observed practices to ground reposition 185 papers past 5 years with 36%, 2025 papers were quoted by two annotators, one postdoc and a PhD. So this is their like what they did. Both of them gave experience, have experience working in AI for mental health. 50% of data was double annotated, substantial agreement coins. Okay, 6.7 is not too bad. In cases of disagreement, most of which were involved in inherently ambiguous instances. Oh, wow. So that's a bold claim. Inherently ambiguous instances. The senior annotator, the postdoc, conducted a more in-depth review of the paper and re-annotated the instance to reach a final decision. And these ambiguities often arose in borderline cases, for example, when authors of a paper discussed limitations broadly but only briefly alluded to evaluation-related concerns without explicitly framing them as such, or when the full context needed for the annotation is buried somewhere in the appendices. Okay, so this is more logistical. That makes more sense. Not a bold claim. To ensure consistency in the remaining instances, the annotators discussed ambiguous cases throughout the process and made the decision together. Okay, that's fair. Rely only on AI and metrics, no human. So these are the number of papers that I think they evaluated. No human evaluation. ACL anthology study. Okay. Okay. That's fair. Uh yeah, so table to summarizes key patterns that emerge from this review, and Appendix A provided detailed annotations, including the tasks covered by these papers and the observed practices documented at the paper level. Now, overall, we found that current evaluation practices in this literature remain limited in scope and rigor. So that is like one of the findings, which we have reiterated over like n number of times now, and especially considering the sensitivity of the clinical applications of the domain. Now, while the surveyed works cover a wide range of tasks from detecting mental health conditions to building therapeutic chatbots, and these are the few therapeutic chatbots that have been built. So one good thing, I think I'm good with the chatbot that I'm building because that's like more recent. Okay, sorry. Their evaluations often rely on narrow model-centric criteria. Oh, this is important, model-centric criteria. So this could be even the application that they're delivering. So I need to be cognizant of this. Noted. Now, specifically, um, five concerning patterns emerge. Half papers rely only on standard AI NLP metrics, F1 Blue Rouge, which are the standard metrics. Over half include no human evaluation, and among those that do, 29% do so without no mental health experts. That's crazy. Yeah, that's just crazy. So 75, so that's 29%. So that's one third of 75, 25 papers do without involving mental health experts. No, nearly one fifth of the papers omit evaluation guidelines, and roughly a third fail to discuss limitations in the way evaluations have been conducted. These gaps indicate that current practices assess technical performance but often overlook safety, interpretability, and real world utility. Now, overall, these findings reveal that methodological gap AI tools may score well on NLG metrics, yet fall short on clinical standards and user needs. Now, this critique is not aimed at individual works, but rather highlights the need for shared rigorous evaluation practices. The following sections build on that. So we build a taxonomy, we demonstrate some case studies, and present the guiding principles. So let's look at the taxonomy. Okay, yeah. I do not know. Since I'm a beginner, how do I tilt this? We'll see. Um, what I'm gonna do, I think this video would already be too long by now. Oh, yeah, this was a model training for um the chart sleep model that I'm training. Um, Let me do this. Let me revisit the proposed taxonomy and the rest of the papers in a separate video because this video will become too long and I'm not sure if my Zoom will support that. So I'm going to stop sharing, stop recording, and then see.